Running a business comes with a lot of what ifs, but luckily there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj podcast with Dr. Raj Dasgupta, a show all about educating patients, students, and aspiring doctors about better patient care. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician and associate professor at the University of Southern California. He was a co-host of the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Raj podcast. And what is this a podcast of? Of happiness, of wellness, of amazing people doing amazing things. And today, I'm kind of mixing it up. I have a co-host. Not that I really need a co-host. I'm just joking. But I have one of my good buds, Todd Keitz. We did a podcast together. And no, I like being part of his team. I like when we team up. He just has good juju about him. So he kind of introduced me to two peeps. We have my dad, John, we have daughter, Alex, and they're a combo, and they both were EMTs together, which is so awesome. So I thought it'd be awesome if, since, Todd met them first, we do a combo podcast, new for the Dr. Raj theme, and we interview both of them at the same time. So I'm going to let Todd do his intro, then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to do the bio of Alex, and we'll go from there. So everyone, sit tight. This is going to be an awesome podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Raj. I'm really excited to be here to be co-host on the Dr. Raj podcast and in conjunction with the Caregiving Insights podcast. So this is really a lot of fun. And the way this all came to be was a longtime friend of mine from high school introduced me to Alex. And I introduced Alex to Dr. Raj, and then we got introduced to John, and here we are. So there's a really fun story we're going to talk about here today, and I think everybody's really going to enjoy.
So Alex is about to finish up her neuroscience degree at Middlebury College with a minor in theater. I kind of like that, During her time as a student, Alex took off a semester amidst the pandemic to work as a medical assistant at a local hospital in Vermont to help alleviate the staffing issues with COVID. That's awesome. Outside of medicine, Alex performs with an improv comedy troupe and an acapella group on campus and has starred in the occasional short film. Alex, do I need to get an autograph after this?
It's okay, but my agents were pressed about my...
Okay. We often hear of a child following in a person's footsteps by going into the family business or going into the same line of work. That being said, it's probably less likely you've heard of a daughter or son becoming an EMT because their dad was an EMT. Well, following in her dad's footsteps, Alex became an EMT at the age of 16. And today, we're going to hear from her and her dad. I'm so pumped. Todd, why don't you introduce John and let's get this on the way.
Sounds awesome. So John spent his professional career in advertising and marketing in the US and Europe, but he always had an interest in medicine and first aid. It wasn't until his kids were in high school that he felt he could take the time to become an EMT. Fortunately, the Wilton Volunteer Ambulance Corps in Wilton, Connecticut, sponsors 2 EMT classes a year for residents. John completed the course and became a licensed EMT and NREMT in December of 2016. He went on to volunteer for the next 6 years, including the intense period during COVID-19 and lockdown in the New York area. John also served as secretary and president of the organization, is proud of the accomplishments of the Wilton Corps of EMTs. Training young EMTs is a central objective to WVAC, and unlike many services, the group accepts EMTs as young as 16 years. Last year, John and his wife bought a small inn on Cape Cod, and he had to leave WVAC. He will never forget how much he learned and grew through serving as an EMT, including the notable life experience and sharing several shifts on the ambulance with his daughter, Alex, who was also an EMT at WVAC from the age of 16.
Cool. So anyways, I'm just going to just start off with this. You know why I dig this story? When I finished my internal medicine residency, I was an attending for about a year, 2 years, before I went to do POM and critical care and all that kind of stuff. My mom was still a practicing RN. So there was a little overlap. We didn't work in the same hospital. I definitely wasn't in the same ambulance, thank God, over there. But there's something cool about, being the son, being the daughter, and being with your parent. It's really special. So I just wanted to throw it out there and why I dig you guys. So Todd, I'm going to go first. Is that cool?
You're up.
All right. So Alex, this one is for you. So what inspired you to be an emergency medical technician at EMT?
Well, my dad kept coming home with these crazy stories. It was something that I'd always been sort of a science nerd. I'd always, liked chemistry and all of those crazy things, but wasn't sure what I really wanted to do with it. And I don't think anyone really does at 16. But then to have my dad, who had spent his whole career in advertising and as long as I had known him, hadn't spent too much time in medicine, and then would sit at the dining table and talk about how he was like stopping bleeding and there was like crazy psych calls or even just sort of nonchalantly talking about, someone who couldn't poop for 3 days. And a fire lit in my eyes and I said, I have to do that too. And it just so happens that Connecticut is special that you can get a license at such a young age. And so because he already had the experience, he was like, the door was a little more open even for me to get started. So I think it was like on or around my 16th birthday, we were like, let's find a course. And it went from there.
But Alex, 16 is so young. I think I remember when I was 16, maybe, when I hear poop stories when I was 15, 16, or blood or vomit or whatever it is, you went into the route of a little comedy and a little acting. How did that say, no, this is what I want to do? I want to hang out with my dad and I want to be in an ambulance. And yeah, if people could be dying around me, that's kind of what I want to do at that age. What grabbed you to that?
I think I'd always admired people who were sort of running towards screaming and terror. I'd seen that in my dad even before he became an EMT. I have like a vivid memory of sitting in a theater watching Bolt, which was like a Disney film, and someone
starts, a dog, right? Like a dog, right?
It was a dog film. And someone starts screaming in the back of the theater and like everyone sort of freezes, but my dad like leapt over the back and I was like, I wonder if one day I'll be, if that'll be my instinct as well. And I think that is sort of like how it netted out, is that like, sure, I like to joke and have the attention of the stage, but at the end of the day, like I find the most value in those situations where if people are freaking out and I can like find some sense of calm and then handle it, that's way more rewarding than anything performance related.
John, so I'm going to kind of parlay these together, So being the dad and, experiencing what you knew at the time, I was an EMT and it's not an easy job. You want to do it correctly and really help people out. There are some risky things that you do. You have a wonderful 15, 16-year-old daughter at the time, and she wants to hang out with you and do what you do. How did that make you feel,
Well, first of all, I think sometime back, I said in front of Alex that to somebody else that she followed my footsteps, and I thought she'd never forgive me for saying that. So I'm amazed that she's putting it that way, because the way that she used to position it, it was her idea first. So that's good. I'm glad that's kind of changed. But it is true. I didn't think of it in the sense of the dining room table. And of course, we always acknowledged HIPAA. We didn't use names or anything like that. But it was the dining room table where she got recruited because she was fascinated by the stories. My wife, too, she always says she's like an honorary EMT because she was in all those conversations, too, and loved it. But it was the right thing for Alex. I knew she would love it. So she tried it out. We had a list that of when she did her training, she did it in a rough town. And we had a list on the wall of the crazy calls that we'd been on, and it was a competitive thing. So she saw the first ODG. We made up a term, ODG, obvious dead guy. So she won that race.
Yeah. Okay. I always want to get into the details because you're like a teaser. You're like, hey, but I there's a little script I'm reading over here. It's Todd's next question, but I may get back to you on that. Todd, fire away, bud.
Yeah. So this is for both of you, and you guys can choose who wants to answer this. But how did you end up working together? I mean, did one of you request, hey, I want to work with my dad, or hey, I want to work with my daughter? How did that work out?
And there's no lying on the podcast, okay?
It's true. We didn't have time to corroborate our stories. So
we didn't. I was hands off because the last thing I wanted to do was like say to Alex, let's do a shift together. So from my point of view, it was like, if it happened, it was great, but I never pushed it.
Yeah, I think like the way the scheduling worked was you sort of submitted how many hours you were available and then sort of like willy-nilly got put on the schedule. But so I think I had a similar, I was like, I don't want to like be on the ambulance with my dad. Like, I don't want to like ask for it. But then once we did end up getting on, it was like, we had some cool calls, or they were boring and it was still fun because then it was basically just us hanging out in a living room together, which is what we would do at home. But we were like in our little uniforms waiting for disaster to strike. So it was, I don't know that we ever really tried to get on calls together. It just ended up sort of like happening that way.
So what was it like working together, each of you? How did that feel? I mean, what was it like?
I really enjoyed it. I was so proud, obviously, of Alex, and we had one particularly hairy call that Alex wants to tell about it. She can, but
that's my question for the next one. But don't worry, I'll make sure we're going by the numbers, man.
So, yeah, we'll hold back on that one because it is good, and her memory is probably better than mine. But I was proud, and it was the funniest moments were when the patient's in the stretcher in the back, and one EMT says to the other, "Hey, Dad, pass me the whatever," and you could see the patient sort of like do one of those what. So that was fun.
I love it. Alex?
Yeah, totally. The whole hey dad pass me a splint kind of thing was the best, because honestly, like the way I think about it, there's very few interventions that we can do as EMTs that like really make any huge difference. So a lot of what we're doing is just like distracting them from what's going on and making sure they're comfortable and like, you know, grounded by the time we get through the hospital doors. And so if for a couple seconds they can sort of forget that they just broke their wrist and can say, oh my God, like my EMTs are father-daughter. Like if that even for a second takes the distraction away, that was also kind of a fun aspect of it. And then even like when we were on scene with, you know, fire or PD, they would be like, Dad? Who's Dad? Like what? It was, I think some people actually thought, you know how like the nightmare in like elementary school is that you call your teacher mom or something? I think people thought it was like a Freudian slip, and I was like, no, that is my father. Like, we're
not father figure, actual father.
No, that's my dad.
Well, before I bang out my questions, I will say this much, you know, don't ever downplay what EMT paramedics do, because, you know, when it comes to acute coronary syndrome and stroke, yeah, sure, I teach my med school students and residents what to do, but you guys are the first responders, getting the 12 lead on there, making sure that they get their appropriate medications, who gets nitro, no nitro, going to the right hospital. It's huge. You guys are solid. So with that being said, let's go to story time, because I want to hear some stories. So this is an Alex John combo. What was your most memorable moments? It could be difficult, it could be funny. So one of you guys go first, then the other one goes second.
I mean, I think there's a hands down, like Alex said, we haven't collaborated on this, but I don't think there's any question what the number one call we had together was. And I'll tee it up and then Alex can finish it because she's the one who got the messiest. We walked in, it was a retirement home, and we walked in and the fire department was already there. And actually the lead fire guy is actually a paramedic on the side, but he can't practice as a paramedic when he's on fire shift. So, but he was definitely a little flustered, more flustered than usual. And he said, yeah, we got to bleed here. And it's pretty good. I think you should just pack up and go, you know, like, let's just get her to the hospital. And I was like, well, let me take a look. And he said, no, I've used 8 Chuck's pads and it's, we got to go. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I still I was just dumb. I was like, well, let's assess. And Alex was the one who stepped up, and I'll let her tell the rest because it was pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, it was one of those things where you're like, let's not panic till we have to panic. And then I approached the bed and there was just literally a river of blood coming down the stretcher. And we were like, we all kind of like made this eye contact moment of like, yep, okay, we're moving. And so we had a paramedic out with us as well. And he was like, hop on, basically, because she had some like, what was it? Like a drain was
She had
popped
a drain, I think, but it was in her like femoral artery. I mean, it was like,
yeah,
it was in a bad place and it had come out.
it had popped.
Wait, we have to go back to the doctor and me. So what do you mean by drain, and what was it doing even vaguely close to the femoral artery?
We never really found that out, but there was something that had been inserted into some blood vessel that had come out.
She had like sort of hip to hip stitching.
Okay.
Some gastro surgery of some kind that needed some kind of drain that had loosened and was now erupting.
Oh my God.
But it was one of those where we were like, okay, grab all the bags, get everything, we're moving. And I was like, 100 pounds soaking wet at the time and 16. And the paramedic was like, you're getting in there, go on. And it was one of those where I was just like layering pads and my whole forearm was like essentially up in this woman's abdominal cavity. And we're like moving the stretcher and we're getting into the thing. And
right. Alex is riding the stretcher. Alex
I was riding the stretcher
of the patient.
Yeah.
That's like everyone's dream per se when you're an EMT. In the olden days, I know we don't encourage riding the stretcher anymore, but in the olden days, I always kind of in a weird way wished, can I be doing CPR on a stretcher while they're doing it? I never got to do it, but that was you. You were compressing while you were pushing the gurney.
It was.
Wow.
That was my
the patient was really chill about it too.
That was the scariest part, was that she was completely conscious. She'd lost liters of blood at this point.
That's a femoral artery.
Unreal. And she was like, she just kept asking me, she kept saying, what's your name, dear? And I was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I was like, Alex, but you're going to ask me again in 10 seconds and we're going to keep it. Like, it was just.
You could have done some stand-up, Alex.
I know. I think I could have said pretty much anything. And it would have been fine. But she made it, I think.
She did. She lived it, but they said it was really close. Like she had nothing
good for
left,
you.
Nothing left.
Well, before I throw it back to Todd, I mean, that was a serious. Is one of you guys want to throw out a funny one, like a kind of a hilarious one that we should hear about?
I have a funny one. I don't know if you remember this, Dad, but we had an overnight shift, and at the time I was a contacts wearer, and I'd taken them out for the night because I couldn't sleep in them. So I had my glasses on the side table, and we got a call at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And in my becoming a person again, I put my pants on, I'm going outside, and I get like halfway down the steps and I was like, I can't see anything. I had forgotten my glasses on the side, on the like the little side table. And I was like, Dad, I can't see anything. And you were like, it's fine. And I was like, I wasn't like dangerous to other people. It was more of like, don't ask me to like run somewhere, because like I would probably fall over. And
you never run an EMS.
Yeah, you never run. But we were like getting in an elevator, and you were like, oh, I'll go. I think you were crew chief at that point. And so you were like, oh, I'll go assess the patient. You take the stretcher up. And I get in the elevator and the doors are closing. And I was like, I can't read the elevator buttons. I couldn't get up. And so I'm yelling with the stretcher and I go, Dad. And he comes back.
I'd forgotten that to
I think I yelled John at first and you didn't respond. And then I was like, nope, Dad.
So John, random question. How many kids you got? Is this the only one right here?
No, we have a son too, who's 2 years younger than Alex. And he, crazy of all things, he also took the EMT course during COVID, begrudgingly. It was kind of like, I said, you got to do something, do something. And, but he finished the course and he passed the test, but he never got his license. Like with Alex, it was what she kind of was built for. And Jack was, he learned it all, but it wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is for Alex. Whether related to your job as an EMT or otherwise, what's the best advice your dad has given you?
Oh, that's hard.
You didn't give him the questions, Todd. You're so mean today, dude.
You didn't give me the questions.
What?
All right. Wait, Alex, You can sit with that for a moment. We'll go to your dad. So John, what did you learn about Alex while working with her as an EMT that you may not have known or realized before?
That's a hard one because we've always been pretty close. So no, I mean, it's she doesn't surprise me often. I have high expectations and she usually delivers. So it's not wasn't anything like that. Because you were touching on the humor thing, not dodging the question, but one of the best things in the back of an ambulance is to have a sense of humor. And like Alex said, to get the patient to relax. So I guess in that context, it's not something that surprised me about Alex, but it was seeing how grounded she could be and find the humor in a really crappy situation, not only deal with the situation, but then extend humor to the patient to help them. For any EMT, it's a great skill.
Yeah. John, I'm going to go rogue question right here, dude. I have 2 daughters and a boy. My oldest, which is 10, I kind of treat her like one of the boys sometimes because it's just, I love certain things, Star Wars and Marvel movies and sports. With having Alex, an EMT buddy, is she like one of the boys in the family or is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and she, yeah. I mean, there's a father-daughter thing that I think is really a natural kind of, there's like, I never talked to her like she was a kid.
You go like tackle football with her or something,
No, no. And it wasn't like that. And it definitely, but going back to her following me, I really think it wasn't that like that kind of connection where it's like, oh, I grew up putting Band-Aids on people. I think she just saw that it was an amazing experience.
That's awesome, man.
So yeah, I think it was more that. It's just like, that would be amazing. And like she said, running towards, that was something we'd always talked about. Like, wow, it's a great thing if you are competent enough or feel competent enough to run towards problems instead of away from them.
That's awesome.
All right, Alex, back to you.
Yeah. So Alex, your chance to answer.
I have one. Well, I think it's more of a philosophy than a piece of advice. But I think I was always sort of like I was an anxious enough person that I was sort of self-governing in the sense where like, I feel like very, very infrequently were you like heavily like parenting me. Like I sort of would like had my own voices that were keeping me on track. So I feel like anytime that became too intense of like a sort of panic in me, you always had this sort of sense of like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's all good. There was almost, I mean, you always hear about like parents who are always, you have to clean your room or whatever. And it was like very much like I did what I did. And then in moments where I was like, I actually have no idea what to do at this point, there was this sense of like, no, but you're fine. Like, you'll figure it out. And I think that was a good guiding voice, particularly when you're in something as intense as like EMT stuff at such a young age, like to have that parenting style of just like, relax, you're going to be okay. It was like,
then zen your way through it.
Exactly. You've always said zen your way through it. Like with interviews, like college stuff, like all that kind of stuff just was like.
No, it's true. I mean, it's true. Alex always did self-regulate. She did. I never had to tell her to do her homework once. I mean, putting the brakes on her was the biggest parenting moment it was just keeping her head on, because sometimes she got so engaged in everything that it was too much. She overwhelmed herself.
This is a good question for Alex. So, I knew Alex before this talk. Alex is going to be teaming up with me for one of my books. I'm super pumped for that, even though she can't find the emails I sent her, but it's still all right. I was going to throw it out there, Alex. But my question to you, everyone, Alex wants to be a physician. I'm very proud of her. And I mean, you don't have to twist my arm to say I think it's a great decision. My question to you is it's kind of an odd question because it's so generically asked, but I do want to know, hey, what motivated you to want to become a physician? And number 2, how did your EMT training, how's that contributing to your decision or making you want to become a physician?
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't really even consider being a doctor until I'd done the EMT thing. I think I was like, I'm going to be a quiet little demure researcher and do my little whatever. And then I realized once I sort of became enthralled and addicted to the stories and like the just connecting with people, I realized that was the part that actually like inspired me to pursue the patient side of medicine. And then pretty much anytime I got to run a call in any kind of way, that was when one, I thought everyone was the most efficient, and two, I felt like I was like the most locked in. Because that's always the question. It's like, well, why not a nurse? Why not a PA? And so I think that like that aspect of if you can have the energy to walk into a room, particularly when you're an EMT in high school and people are really privy to say, oh, she's just like the wallflower volunteer. Like if you can get a room full of adults to say, okay, you get the stretcher, you grab the paperwork, you find the meds, and people listen. That was something where I was like, okay, this is something I can do. And then like realistically, I think I would be good at it.
And let me plant a little seed in your mind, Alex. Talking to your dad and talking to you and the way you answer questions, maybe consider doing a little critical care as a fellowship. That's what I do. And I still get to relive some of my EMT days. So you may have that in you. Okay.
Love it.
Todd, all yours, dude.
So in closing, and again, I didn't give you guys the questions, so it might take a few seconds to think about this, but maybe it's right at hand. So in closing, two-part, what wisdom would you each share with the audience about let's start with having the ultimate responsibility of someone's life literally in your hands?
I can take that because that's easy. I mean, as you said in my bio, one of the things I was most proud of our volunteer ambulance corps was that we promoted bringing in young people. So very few organizations around the country, as far as I know, take in 16-year-olds. But we were built for that. So we gave that advice all the time. We had these 16-year-olds coming in, and they were always riding as a third person, until they couldn't be what we call a crew chief to run a call until they were 18. So a lot of our job as the grown-ups at the ambulance corps was to teach kids and to give them advice and to understand their path, because some of those kids were there because their parents made them. Some of those kids were there because they thought it was a great idea and they just wanted a resume builder, and some loved it. So the advice was not boilerplate, but maybe rolling back to what Alex said, even to those kids, I'd say, relax. You got to know what you're doing and rely on that, but don't coil yourself up, because that's where everything falls apart. Know that you know what you're doing, clear the air, do what you've got to do.
John, I'm gonna go rogue, ask you a question. I didn't realize you're hanging out in the lighthouse now more often than not. So do you miss being an EMT? Do you want to go back? You look young. I mean, you look at least 36 tops,
yeah. Right, sure. Well, yeah, you know what? When I first got here, I was looking, there are no volunteer, it's all fire departments around here. So do I miss it a little? I miss it a little bit, but I'm not looking back. I mean, I loved it. I really did love it, but it's okay. It was a phase for me. It was 6 years, and loved what I learned. And I know someday it'll be useful again. There's going to be a moment where I'm going to use those skills. But yeah, no, you know what? I don't miss it as much as I thought I'd miss it. Not because I hated it. I loved it, but I've moved on. I'll put it that way.
So Alex, any answer to that? Any wisdom about literally having someone's life in your hands and what's that's about?
I think the second you decide in your brain that someone's life is in your hands, that's where your brain starts to just completely unravel outside your ears. And so there is like a sense of distance, I feel like, that you have to keep, and that you sort of automatically kick into when something's really in a high intensity moment. Like if you're doing CPR, you really aren't thinking like every press of my hand is keeping this person alive. Like you can't think that. Like that's just not sustainable. And it's sort of the moments before and after. That really is like any mindset that you can even control. And it's really more the moments where you're not actively like saving someone's life, that your like personality and your like affinity towards people is really going to be the thing that makes the difference. Like a monkey can do CPR, but if you can calm someone down from having a suicidal ideation, that is really where it's less about, okay, they're going to make it no matter what you say or do between here and the hospital. So what can you do to make probably one of the worst days of their lives any bit better?
Thank you. That was beautifully said. Wow. So I have the part B to this question. and then I'll close up, and then I'll hand it off to Dr. Raj to close up. So some more wisdom for both of you. Tell the audience about the beauty of collaborating as parent-child, and whether it's in such a unique, serious way as an EMT or just anything in general in life.
It's a gift that we could do that. And, parenting, as all parents know, it's a balance of, as kids, the relationship changes as kids grow. So anytime you can get that moment, if sometimes it's taking a kid to a baseball game and connecting, and it's a memory you have forever. This just happens to be another level. Yeah. It's like taking Alex to a baseball game that she loved, and she'll remember it, but as a parent, you can't take credit for it. You just have to revel in it.
Thank you. Yeah. How about Alex? What do you think?
I think this was particularly unique because I think in most cases where it's father-daughter or any parent-child combination, you are often, the child is the one who's sort of like completely entering, I'm going to be a doctor because my dad was a doctor and that kind of thing. And so the fact that you'd only begun being an EMT about a year before I started was this really cool situation where we were also learning from each other and building off of each other's experiences. Because it wasn't like, oh, I'm coming into your field that you have this lifelong grasp of. And so we both were students in it at the same time, which I think is sort of a rare experience for most father-daughter relationships. But that was very cool. And I think we learned a lot through each other, but also about each other at the same time.
That's very cool. I use that word a lot with people. Cool. It's one of my favorite words. But it is very cool. And I just thank you both so much. John and Alex, really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. It's been a little bit of everything, a little bit of interesting stories that I would have never imagined. And it was great getting to learn more about both of you. And to Dr. Raj, this has been a lot of fun, and thank you so much. It's been fun to be your co-host and your front seat partner in the EMT truck of interviews and Caregiving Insights to be with you in the Dr. Raj podcast, and looking forward to doing so much more.
Todd, you're my bud, dude. I love this. And I wouldn't put my brand with your brand if I just didn't believe what you believe in, which is just awesome. And for you two down below, John, you just seem like a really cool dad. You know what I mean? And I got to say, just to kind of embarrass Alex, that you're amazing. I like the way you handled your questions. I just know that you're going to be a physician, be a great physician, take my advice and go into critical care. I just feel it already, So thanks for being on the Dr. Raj podcast. And for everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I actually had a blast. I'm not just making that up. I did have a blast. So stay tuned in 2 weeks for the next episode of the Dr. Raj podcast.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Ars Longa Media. Our producers are Madison Linden and Chris Brightigan. Our executive producer is Dr. Patrick Beeman. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not intended for medical advice. Ars Longa, Vita Brevis.